Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
This live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
All right, greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, and today joining me is my co-host, scholar and minister, Brother Yikazikia. Welcome, sir.
Peace. How's everybody doing today?
All right. Yes, sir. And before I introduce my two special guests, we're going to go to a general statement and disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. All right, so welcome back. You know, we always have to get that out the way. We talk about a lot of stuff on our show, so we want to make sure that we have that disclaimer in place. Brother Yikazikia, I know we started off, brother. How you doing, and how your week been so far? Last week, going into this week.
Well, it was awesome. I was able to accomplish many a task that I had set out. So everything has been moving forward at a pace that's going to allow me to reach my goals.
That's what's up. Well, today I have two special guests that's going to join us today to talk about this, to get into this conversation of Kwanzaa. And as you can see on our second screen, you can see the setup of Kwanzaa. But I have the privilege and pleasure of introducing these two sisters. Now, the first sister is a cooperative specialist, a public speaker, a certified bookkeeper, owner of TMH Financial, director at Builders of the Highway Foundation. She is also a wife, a mother, and a dear friend of mine. Welcome to the show, Tamar Yisrael.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be in conversation. I feel very honored to be in the midst of all these stars here. So just grateful for this beautiful Kwanzaa celebration that we're embarking in.
All right.
You missed one of my sister's titles, though. Grandmother. Or Super Ima, as we like to say. Celebrate the Super Ima.
Well, let's
I love it.
do a background of my audience, they weighed in on that one. All right, so now the next, sister needs no introduction, but however, we're gonna give her one anyway. She's a senior accountant EA at Scott & Associates Accounting Firm, broker owner of Scott Capital Finance, public speaker. In addition, she sits on the board of countless organizations, including the local Chamber of Commerce. She, too, is a wife, grandmother, and mother, and my best friend and queen. Welcome to the show, Miss Finance Pro.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Indeed. All right, so let's just give the family a rundown of the show today because this is a special program. It's not like some of the programs we normally would put on. So there's no word of today because we're going to have plenty of words of today. So then right after, we give you the rundown of the show today. We of course, we're going to go to a quick commercial break because we always want to pay some bills and want to highlight some things. Once we come back from that, our main topic today is 7 days of Kwanzaa, a celebration of values. And then we'll get ready to end with either a quote or a reading, something motivational. All right. So with no further ado, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with our main topic.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right, so make sure you go to noystore.com. You can get that toothpaste and many other items as well. That's just a part of Kwanzaa, y'all. We have to give back to our community, right? So we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff today. And before we get into it, I just want to give a background of Kwanzaa so that we can the audience can kind of get a gauge on what Kwanzaa is while we're talking about Kwanzaa. So Kwanzaa is a week-long cultural celebration observed from December 26th to January the 1st each year, honoring African heritage, community, and values. It was founded in 1996 by Dr. Kuranga, a professor of African studies during the civil rights movement. Dr. Kuranga created Kwanzaa as a way to reconnect African Americans with their roots, fostering unity and celebrate the cultural richness of African traditions. Now, the origin, like the name Kwanzaa, comes from the Swahili phrase "matunda na ya Kwanzaa," meaning first fruits. It reflects the traditions of African harvest festivals where communities come together to give thanks and celebrate their bounty. So, just to now, I shared a brief little bit of that. And Zika, since you my co-host today, do you want to add anything to that before we get into the meat of our conversation?
Correct.
I'm sorry.
The purpose of this Kwanzaa is important, especially for minorities, because precepts that govern it are those that are lacking in our communities and causing the division among us. So if we was to embrace these particular laws and apply them in our daily lives, then our communities will be able to work together and flourish. As Genesis said, when the people become one, there's nothing that can be withheld from them from which they imagine to do. And that's the mindset that we need to have at the forefront of our thoughts and our communities.
All right. And
Abigail,
you want to add something?
I just wanted to correct you in a misstatement.
Mhm.
You shared that Kwanzaa was started in 1996. I think you meant 1966.
66. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Because see, when it comes back, that's not an accurate statement.
That's okay.
So it's 1966. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
sir.
So our main topic today is just talking about the values that Kwanzaa bring about in our community. And I know there's a lot of things that we can talk about today when it comes to Kwanzaa.
Yes,
And in our past shows, we attempted to do that. We have never been successful at doing that because it's just so much information. So today we're going to talk about the Nguzo Saba, which is the 7 principles, and we're going to break that down today, starting with day one. So since you all are my guests, and then I want us to all to kind of chime in on it. When we talk about the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles, what would be the first day, the first principle, the first day, and then what we call that principle? Which one of you ladies want to go first?
Okay. So are we going into day one, or did we
Day
want
one.
to talk about some of the myths that are centered?
Oh, we do.
Because I did want to only address that because a lot, Kwanzaa used to be a huge celebration among the African American community. And so throughout the years, we have noticed that this, holiday has been watered down, and many people today may not even know what Kwanzaa is and, have their various reasons on why they choose to not partake in a Kwanzaa celebration that was created for people of African ancestry, more specifically, African Americans living in America.
Mhm. I'm glad you was reading the breakdown here.
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's important because there's been
No, we
conversation
have to dismiss the
and
myths
yes,
that we
to address it.
have encountered over the many years that it's been around. Because even when we look back when Kwanzaa first came around, it was a way, in my opinion, I think Dr. Karenga seeing a need for this here because we were so caught up in other things. And it was a way to bring us back into our cultural values.
Yeah.
And there are many myths that we have encountered over the years, especially us as African Americans, that we do want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about
Yeah.
that then. So what are some of those myths that has separated us
Yes.
from, the value of Kwanzaa?
2 myths specifically that bother myself the most. I'm not sure if anyone else has heard. One being that Dr. Karinga, the founder, is a pedophile, a child pedophile, is one of the rumors that have been heard. The Christian church has a history, more specifically, the Catholic Church has a history, a well documented and well known history of child pedophilia. And this is something that's happened among pastors, the head individuals, and they're not being held accountable as a display, really just to show us just how powerful the Catholic Church is. Yet and still, our people are not saying that they're not going to celebrate Christmas, although we have a clear path of several instances of children, more specifically little boys, who had been raped by the ministers. So we don't have a problem with that, and we'll continue to celebrate Christmas. But Kwanzaa, we don't want to celebrate because of a rumor, allegedly. You can't find any documents like we can if we reverse it to where this individual was ever, charged or, found guilty. Just a rumor. Another rumor, more specifically, is the Kanara itself, because each night we are lighting candles. And so the other rumor is this is voodoo or black magic. I don't want to get into this black, magic. Yet, those that go to church take part of communion, drinking of blood and eating of flesh. Every time you have a birthday, you're lighting a bunch of candles, and somehow that's not considered black magic. Individuals like to, light candles when someone passes away. And in churches, several churches, they have candles lit before prayer. But that's not considered somehow black magic, but this is.
Mm.
And so it's just debunking so that we can always understand that the one thing that people of color have gotten correct is that, even being into the church, we understand that we are spiritual people. We are spiritual to the core of us. But sometimes we just become a little too technical and we need to decide what is and what isn't black magic. We really need to educate ourselves on that.
I think even going with the libation, when we drank in honor of our ancestors, I think we was talking about this earlier. How oftentimes we see people pouring out this drink for my homie or whatever the case may be. It's similar to what we have always done, So it ain't, going back to your point, we talking about black magic, etc. We have to be mindful of the things that we do, did not try to demonize something that we are already accustomed to doing.
Yes.
Are there any other what are some other myths that and Sister Tamar, that you can think of that kind of highlight
what Kwanzaa is or isn't, right? There's so many, right? So there's like the idea that Kwanzaa is it's an African holiday. It is rooted in African tradition, as my sister just shared. It has a lot of history in African culture, tradition, even with the Swahili word. It has, but the problem we have, because we are in America, and I want to just raise this up. Um, there are a lot of myths to put you in the mindset of not being in practice of the principles. And so, whether you hear the myths or not, the principles themselves, as we will begin to like allude to in this conversation, have an active energy. And the one thing I think, what large myth that I want to kind of address is the notion of how we deal with holidays. Because it is now deemed a holiday according to the United States, and it's good that it gives it that recognition, it gives it that global acknowledgement. But the reality of it is, the Nguzo Saba is a set of principles, practice, active energies that we have to deploy in our lives. And the challenge we face as citizens here on this landmass that we occupy is that we don't assume the energy of our oppressor. The oppressor has an energy of inactive holiday. We don't do no work. Everything is celebrate, frolic, etc. But when you think about the words that are embedded in the Nguzo Saba, they are active energies designed to elevate our families and our communities to a different space. So the unfortunate situation we have in looking at holidays have instilled a practice and a set of separation for us. But our reality is, these principles really are powerful principles that we should consider, not just in this one week, but all year round.
Indeed. Indeed. But you want to share some on any myths?
Well, the ones that they just elaborated on is the main ones that keep us separated, because people don't have an understanding of it. As the sister said, they don't understand the purpose and the intention of these particular precepts. So she said if we embrace them on a daily basis, it's similar to what the King has taught us, and it we yield heaven on earth for us, instead of us being in this hellacious condition due to our division and separation from the American holidays.
And I think one of the myths that oftentimes I would hear is a Black Christmas. We try to find
It's a
ways.
substitute for Christmas.
And it's not, and people that's listening in, it's not a substitute for Christmas, and we try to use it as that. But if we use it for what it's meant to be used for, it can truly change our life. It can change our family. It can change our community. And we're going to be talking about a lot of the things, the values, and we're going to get into some of these words as far as principles that if we I would say inculcate them in our lives, we'll have better lives and we'll be able to kind of operate amongst ourselves in a better fashion. So these are some things that we're going to get into. We're going to talk about today. Um, but just understanding, that it's not a Black Christmas. It's the first notion I want to make clear as we get into a lot of this information today. Anything else we want to share on, like some of these myths behind that? So we'll get into like the first night. The first night we normally do what? We light the black
black
candle.
candle that's in the center. The first night being Umoja,
Okay.
which is unity. Sometimes I like to channel my Queen Latifah, the UNITY.
Indeed.
That's our unity. And so
Mhm.
with night one, it's to strive for and maintain unity in the family, in the community, within the nation, and our heritage. And I think we can all agree that, still to this day, unity is something that we are fighting for our lives for within the um, Black community,
Mhm.
because we understand where there is no unity, there is no power.
Mm.
Where there is no unity, there is no God.
Mm.
The people can't prosper unless we understand that we are one and we are what all we have. So it's a blessing that night one, which is why the black candle is always the smallest because it's lit the longest. It's
Right.
lit each night as a reminder of the importance of unity.
Okay. So let's get into a little bit. Toss around the room. Unity, Umoja. Which
Yeah.
one of you want to, Sister Ma?
Yeah, I'll jump in because I like what Sister Abigail just said about like one is like a necessary thing that gives us power. And unity, I think for us to really be in observation and reflection around unity at this time of year really is a good point for us to understand why we need to be thinking about unity. There is a force at play that is working against us being unified with each other. And I
Yeah.
think it's really important for us to recognize that there is a force of power, consumerism, capitalisms, and all of the isms and schisms that we can name are these things that are out trying to attack our unity. And it is fostering a sense of individualism. So when we become individualistic about my needs, what I want, what is important to me, we forget the fabric of what makes family. And unity is that connective tissue that keeps us tied to each other. So no forces, no enemies, no things that are attacking us can and come against us. So it's really a time for us to be more conscious or conscientious about the forces that work against this critical part of what makes us a family, what makes us a community, and that's us being singularly focused on our collective well-being.
All right. Brother Yikaziki, you want to
Yes,
chime in on that?
yes, sir. The unity aspect, the root word is unity. And when you have a group of people that got the same spirit, the same cause, the same determination to achieve a particular goal or objective that they set for themselves, as the sister said, you have to be conscious of that which will stop you from being united. And if you don't have an understanding of the outside forces or the enemy forces that are being used to stop you from becoming one, then you're never going to be that. So after 4.5 centuries, we still lack that unity because we don't have a consciousness of what's stopping us from becoming one. We can eloquently state the problems, Black people, first thing out their mouth is we don't work together as other ethnicities do. But we don't understand what's causing the separation. We haven't got to the root of it. We get the surface problems, and therefore we don't have a deeper solution. And that's what's got us in the condition that we're in now as a group of people. So as the sister said, we have to begin to understand what it is that's stopping us from unite. If you go to a doctor, he's going to give you a diagnosis of what the problem is, and then he's going to create a prescription for your problem to be healed. That's what we have to do. We have to create a prescription that will produce a solution so that we may be able to heal and work together as one. Because as every other ethnic group does, when they're working as one, anything that they seek to accomplish gonna be brought into reality.
All right. And I guess it goes to anybody else want to chime in on this part? Because that's a perfect segue to the next part. Because it goes into talking about self and what can I do? Because it starts with you. You can't do nothing outside of any, I mean, you don't have any control over no one else. But when you become conscious of this knowledge, you have to start with yourself. How can I implement this within my life and better my life and then better my family and my community and the nation as a whole? So let's go to night two. And night two may kind of shine some light in on that. So night two is what?
Kujichagulia, which is self-determination, to define ourselves, to create for ourselves, and lastly, to speak for ourselves. And night two, just like every night, is so important because if we understand our history in this country, we understand that these three things were once not afforded to us. We did not name ourselves. To this day, we are carrying the names of our former masters. So we weren't naming ourselves. We weren't creating for ourselves. We created for others. And we certainly did not have the power to define our future. But those of us, especially that have become conscious of who we are and our true history spiritually, we have been able to do that. And it's just important to give our children this power of Kujichagulia to understand that they have the absolute power to define who you are. There's nothing more freeing and liberating than getting to that point of your life where you say, through my faith, I shall empower myself to be or to have all those things that the Most High created for me.
Indeed. All right. So passing it right along to you, Sister Tamar.
Yes, sis, you always like line it up so sweetly so I can jump right in and add some texture to what you just said. So I just appreciate your comments. And I also really appreciate how these principles are aligned because first you got unity, us having a sense of collective consciousness, a collective identity, a sense of collective self is the foundation of Kujichagulia. So you start with unity. We are self, one, self-determination. Our determination depends on each other working to make sure ensure that we are protected, our communities are protected, our children are protected. So not dependent, not leaning on, or not being subservient to someone else to meet our needs, but we are collectively determined. See, we're one self. Unity was the foundation of this. So Kujichagulia builds off of Umoja that allows us to be this collective body of people that are working to protect all that we are we work for, all that we are. Our identity is something that has went and gone unprotected because, as we see now, we haven't been conscious of who we are historically. But that self-determining factor is what keeps us in the mindset of protecting our own identities, who we are as a people. So it's really important that we reflect in that way and not just look at self-determination from a factor of I'm determined. We are collective in ourself.
Right. I like
Correct.
that because we try to dispel the ego, because sometimes we can get caught up too much on self and forget others in that process. But go right along, brother Yika Ezekiel.
Yes, as the sister said, that's our biggest issue, is that we have the self instead of the unity. So the self-determination is to allow you to realize that you are a part of a bigger scheme. It's like the body. Every person has a particular job to do. So if your job is, to pump blood, you part of the circulatory system, and you decide you don't want to show up to work that day, then the whole body gonna shut down.
Mm.
So your determination is to stay sedulous about what needs to be done for the whole group. And this is why, as unity, we are a nation of people, a community of people, a city of people, or a state of people that have a collective cause. And everybody must do their particular part to make it function. And as I said, look at society. Where would we be if nobody was a plumber, if nobody was waste management, nobody was doctors or dentists? Everybody has a particular role, and we have to play our role in order for the whole organism to flourish.
You always make some points that push us right into the next segment.
Right. Like
Which,
somehow this was just all meant to intertwine so well.
but Kuji Chagalia, what candle?
This is going to be the red candle to the left of the black candle.
Okay.
It's the first red candle.
Okay. So let's go right into that next segment that our brother, so eloquently pushed us towards. What's that night 3?
Night 3 would be Ujima.
Gemma, yeah.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And what I do like about this is that this notion is we understand that my brother's problem or my sister's problem is my problem. See, we solve this as a community because we work together and we understand that. And it kills that notion. Excuse me for being so frank, but we've heard it before. Every nigga for himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every nigga for himself. It is your problem, is my problem. And see, as a community too, because it doesn't say that one individual has to be, Mr. or Miss Fix It. You don't have to be the one that fixes it for everybody in the family too, because we know that that's a dynamic sometimes that we have. We typically look for that leader within the family, and everybody goes to that one individual. I think a better example would be, how everyone chooses to go to just the pastor and lays out all their problems just to know as a community, right? As a family unit, we address our issues and we're there and we support each other. And so that's what makes night 3 so special.
All right. And Sister Tamar?
Yes, indeed. Again, both my brother and my sister just lined this up so beautifully, and I want to go towards the energy of how the body systems work, right? Because if your circulatory system stops working the way it was designed to work, what's going to happen to the body? And what we're witnessing in our community today is that there are systems in our community not holding down the work that's necessary for our body to be in full function. And so I love the fact that we, talked about the heart, we talked about different things. And it really is, Ujima brings about this idea that every part of our body has a function, a purpose. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But if you understand that, the work that you do is just as important as any one other part of the body's work. And so for us to really reflect on that in this time, but really take this into whatever cycle you want to go into, we are about to go into a new fiscal cycle. And so just understanding that we as individuals have a responsibility for the collective, as my sister just shared. If I don't do my part, then something else is going to fail. And I got this clear because I'm a bookkeeper. I don't do taxes. And so if I do my part, I could pass this work off very sweetly over to Miss Finance Pro to handle the tax part, because that's her work. I don't hold that down. She holds that down. So us knowing and connecting to what we are, can, and should be doing, our own purpose, will help us hold down the work and that shared responsibility for the whole body so it can function the way that it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Trying to snap.
Brother Yikaziki.
Well, when I think of collective work and responsibility, as the sister said, it's a job for each individual. And the term that comes to my mind is synergism, which means the simultaneous action of separate agencies, which together have a greater total effect than the sum of the individual's effect. So one of the animals that the king pointed out to us was the ants. How each ant has a particular job and they work together within the ant hill to make it flourish, to make it go, to be able to produce a present and a future from the work that they're doing. So as the sister said, each individual has a particular job, whether you a doctor, lawyer, whatever your profession may be, it benefits society. And if you don't do your job, then society will begin to fail. And this is where the moral bankruptcy is coming in, especially in America, because they're not teaching precepts that produces moral and ethical people. And you can see the net effects of this, of the people that's on, strung out on the different chemicals that's being perpetrated within the communities, which is causing further destruction of the communities. So we have to begin to embrace working together and seeing you as I see myself, or as an our motto is, one mind. That's the objective of the Kwanzaa. So that's what we have to embrace.
Ain't that's amazing how these principles just connects with our spiritual nature, even in our culture, how we connect these two together, with all these different principles. When we talk about the more attributes, these principles are part of that more attributes, the more attributes.
Absolutely.
And if we take those more attributes, these principles, we can make our life heaven, if you will.
Yes.
It seems like you want to go into
what I was
going
to say is, who would not want to partake in something that builds you, your family, and your community up in this way? Usually people, and we had a discussion about holidays and the consumerism and how people have an illusion of happiness, but most people are not that happy when it comes to the holiday. This is why alcohol sales goes up, because people are depressed. They are going broke to try to keep up with the illusion of happiness. And, parents are stressed trying to figure out, how to pay bills on top of purchasing all these, items. So it's just phenomenal. I know that we got to keep the program going so that we can miraculously somehow go through all 7 principles or all 7 days. So I won't hold it up, but it's just, in our conversations, there's just so much power.
Right.
It's hard to not get excited when a person can truly understand just how beneficial Kwanzaa could be if one allowed this tradition into their home.
And we talk about this every year. Like, we go over these principles and we try to share with the audience the importance of keeping these principles throughout the year. And if we was to just take these principles in, a lot of the even they hit us with a lot of different holidays, right?
Mhm.
And we engage in those holidays, and it's almost like what is it called? Like the Groundhog's Day or something, where we go through a process every year where we do the same thing. We get in debt to try to get out of debt. We get back in debt to try to get back out of debt again. So it's like a circle that we get caught up in, just chasing our tails. So somewhere we have to be able to implement some principles that can change, that process and that method. But we'll continue on. We're gonna go into our next principle, which is night 4, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And what is that?
Ujamaa.
Okay, well, this is what my two sisters gonna double team. I want to
Ujamaa.
jump right into this one.
Cooperative economics.
Okay.
And I love it because it's where we get to build
Mhm.
our own stores,
Mhm.
build our own businesses. So we're building together, and then we are going to profit from them, not individually, but together.
Mhm.
So it's us learning cooperative economics. And I will switch this around. I'll let the queen of co-op. I'll let the
Indeed.
queen of co-op take this floor as she understands this subject matter. And I will come behind you, or I'll even come behind my brother.
Oh, thank you, sis. And thank you for the just acknowledging I'm a student of learning cooperative economics, cooperative practice. I will take the appreciations of being the queen of co-ops because I love them. They really edify Ujima. Cooperatives is an opportunity for us to really figure out what it means to collectively own our village. We haven't been in a space where we are co-owning and having ownership of much. As a matter of fact, a large percentage of the world's resources is owned by a very small percent of our population, and that is because singularly focused people have worked to own everything. And so collective ownership presents us an opportunity. Ujima is a way for us to collectively co-own our communities, our businesses, as I said before, villages. And what I really like about cooperatives is they do operate with a lot of the principles that we see in Kwanzaa. And there is a modern era around the cooperative movement where you're seeing a lot of Black communities are saying now we will use co-ops as a way to solve for food, food apartheid that's happening in our neighborhoods and communities. People are now opening cooperative grocery stores like the one in Detroit or Dayton, Ohio. Shout out to Detroit People's Food Co-op and Gem City Market in Dayton, Ohio. And then there are folks who are really trying their best to get these grocery stores open. So they said, we're going to take Ujima and make it a real action and opportunity. But they also use 7 principles in cooperatives that are really aligned with what we're dealing with here in Kwanzaa. And one of those principles are voluntary and open membership, meaning that the community has an opportunity, if you're willing to hold down that responsibility, to be a member. Collective governance, democratic governance, shared economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training, and information, and then working with each other, cooperation among cooperatives, and most importantly, concern for community. So co-op business models are a tool that we can use today. It's not the whole answer, because these principles that we're talking about in Kwanzaa present a framework for us to build on, just as a cooperative is one of the tools that we can use in this framework to achieve an end goal. And that's us being liberated and free from this oppressive system that we currently have to be in.
And I know that was the short version, sis.
That was like the elevator pitch version.
Yes, man. We appreciate your knowledge around that, because it's much needed. within our community to just understand what that means, you know. But Abigail, you want to?
I'm listening to you, brother. I don't mind jumping in though. Sorry if
Okay.
I'm looking your way. But from what you shared, I'll put this in put in cooperative economics. What makes co-ops to me just an extremely powerful tool and resource is because you are still given an opportunity to be in business for yourself, literally for yourself, but not by yourself, because everyone is now pulling in their talents or pulling in their resources, and we're adding it all into one pot. And then you get to benefit. Everybody gets their bowl of soup from that one pot that we've collectively built on. And it's just phenomenal. As an entrepreneur, I can tell you, especially when a business is new and you're getting that business off the ground, there is nothing more humbling. There's nothing more humbling than the first few years of business, especially when you're working hard to turn that profit. And so with cooperative economics, it kind of helps to lessen the burden, because now you get to focus on your skill set and allowing that skill set with the skill set of others to build an empire that you still get to, profit and enjoy life.
Mhm. And another part of that is, you know, because this is a capitalistic, you know, we in a society that only think about how I can capitalize off the next individual, it makes it hard or tough to think about a collective, you know,
Mhm.
come together as a cooperative, you know, when you always been branded with that mindset. So I think this is a way to try to get us out of that mindset and hopes to try to, you know, bring ourselves together collectively. Ziki, you want to cap off some on this here?
Yes, sir. The collective economics, one of the denotation is the satisfaction of the material needs of the people. So as an individual, if I'm a minimum wage worker, then I'm not going to create heaven. I'm not going to have all my material needs met. But if I pool my resources with everybody in the community, then, as you said, now I have access to anything that's needed. So my material needs as a human being will be met at a faster pace with less stress, because I'm working or I'm networking with everybody that's in my either community, town, state, or so forth. So you have to get the mindset that we have to work together in order to make life heaven on earth. You can't do it as an individual. And as we see the individuals that do it, you know, you have to have some type of super talent, athlete, entertainer, but that's not the masses of everyday people. So the everyday people got to come and create a collective pool or a collective kitty where everybody can put in, and then everybody can get a share of it to be able to lessen the burdens of everyday life, which will keep our communities from going to crime, or keep the people in the communities from doing crime, because the material needs are not being met. So that's an awesome precept to learn to work together. You know, and like you say, how good and how pleasant that is when you know you can pool your resources together to be able to get whatever you need.
Mm. I think I also go back to mindset. This being here in this country for so long, you know, we have been plagued with a mindset of division, and it's hard for us to either trust or accept one another because of that reason. But we have to get past that in order to accomplish some of the tasks that we're talking about today and better ourselves as a people and as a community. But we'll move on if you don't
Yes.
have any on this one. So we're going to what? So that what candle is that?
That's day 4, and
Okay.
we were thinking that. So now with day 4, it's going to be the second red candle
Okay.
to the left of the black candle. So we would have, of course, our black candle lit. We have 2 red candles and 1 green.
All right. So getting into day 5, what we dealing with?
Well, now we're going into our purpose,
Okay.
known as Nia. And so it's to make our collective vocation and the building and development of our community in order to restore us as a people to our traditional roots, our traditional greatness.
Mm.
I think that, the individual who wrote the awesome book on defining your purpose,
right?
through your
I
name
wonder who that was.
should give us your input, sir, on night 5, which would then be lighting the second green candle.
Well, quickly, I would say, when it comes to defining your purpose, we go all the way back up to Kuchichagalia when they talk about self-determination, and this is within in my opinion, when it comes to our purpose, I think the reason they did a lot of the things that they did was to take us away from our purpose. And one of those things was to take us from our name. And we never knew how powerful our names are. Some of us are researching, gathering information. Even some people are coming back to, the African roots to say, the words that we're talking about today is Swahili. There are many different languages in the African, continent, but Swahili was one of the ones that Dr. Karinga had connected to at that time. But I think, even when you talk about the names, the African names, there are true meanings behind some of those names. And I even talk about it in my book. I don't just highlight the purpose and how our name corresponds with the Most High. Well, I do
Yes.
do that. Let me not say that. I do that. However, what I try to do is bring it back to a more of a spiritual value, and how we take these names on spiritually and how it gives us a purpose, because the Most High has already ordained our purpose. Once we take this on, the scriptures talk about it. Your name will be written in the book of life. So when we take on these names, we bring about a purpose amongst ourselves that we can truly honor and truly become one with, because now we have meaning behind what we do. So I stop there, but Nia is that purpose, and I guess we'll toss it around the room. Sister Tamar?
Yeah, I'll definitely keep this brief because we heard it from the man who wrote the book himself, how purpose is really one of the points that really help you understand what your work is. How do you add to our collective? How do you add value to the whole of community? And it starts with understanding your own purpose. Now, traditionally, culturally, we identify that our names, as Hebrews, we identify our names have a power that imbue us with what it is that we are intended to do, and we study our names with one of the intentions of knowing our purpose. And so we encourage people to, whatever method they need to. I mean, I know not everyone is under the same belief practice, but your purpose really ties you to a sense of self-being as you are as a person, to add to the collective whole and not just for your individual. So I'll leave it at that because you said it all, and again really framed it up beautifully.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Yikaziki, you want to add some on this?
Yes, sir. A purpose is a goal that one sets for themselves to achieve. So you have to look at collectively, if we're setting a goal of economic prosperity, of physical prosperity, of every aspect of life, domestic, then you have to have that mindset, as we said, or that self-determination to make sure that you accomplish this particular goal that you have set. And in order to do that, one of the things that the king said is there's a time for every purpose. So that means you have to put a time limit on when you're going to achieve this goal right here, which gives you more motivation to make sure that daily you're taking the necessary steps to make that goal tangible in your everyday actions. So you have to have that purpose. Most people are wandering around the planet without a purpose. They like a ship that has no direction. They're just going to ride around the ocean till they run out of gas. So we have to have a purpose. And as I said, the principles that preset that came before Night 5 show you what your purpose is within the community. And that's what we have to keep at the forefront of our thoughts.
Oh, that's capping that off. Anything else we want to share on that?
I'll just leave the audience with, a man that knows his purpose, knows himself. And a man that finds his purpose, finds his God.
Yeah.
He knows his God. There is so much power in purpose.
Okay. All right. So let's move it right along. We're going into our next night, which is
Kumbh.
All right. Oh, let's go back a little bit. Nia, what candle?
Oh, I actually led with that.
Yeah.
When I said the 2 green.
Gotcha.
Because we'd have the 2 green. And now going into Kumbh, it would be the very last red candle. So we would have 6 candles. For Kumbh, which I don't know why when I say the word Kumbh, I think of Lion King, but there was no character of Kumbh. It must be a quick similarity. I don't know why I do that. But Kumbh is creativity, to do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community better than how we found it. So to always do as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it.
Okay. So let's toss this around. Sister Tamar, you want to share on that?
I love how all of these principles really are interconnected with each other because just as my sister just shared so effectively, that it takes us really being able to think in a different way than what we've thought before, to leave where our communities in a better place, better than what it was before. So creativity is a factor that helps us do that. We see it, we experience creativity through arts, through culture. We as a people lead with creativity. We are indeed a creative people as children of the Most High. It is our nature to be creative. And so I think that, when we think about creativity in this context, we have been dealt a box to operate in. And for us as a people, it's going to take us using new systems, new strategies, new things to shift our paradigm. And that creativity is the source of how we do that. So I'm going to leave it at that. But just as a person who is working with a group of artists and are in that community, I see it when musicians get together and they make beautiful music together. They leave the world with something special. A beautiful song is a perfect example of how creativity through a collective body can actually leave the world within a better place. Songs are a perfect example of that.
Indeed. Brother Yikazika?
Creativity is intellectual inventiveness. And intellectual is the power of thought. Your power of thought allows you to invent things. So you have to have a vision. And when you have that particular vision right there of what the community needs or what the city needs, now, as spoken earlier, you begin to do your part to bring that into a reality. So you got to have that creativity. And you need that time to yourself to just sit, as the king say, ponder, meditate, or ruminate on what will bring about your purpose and to serve the material needs of not only yourself but your people. So this is, as she said, we have to get out the box that we've been placed in and then create our own box so that we can always manifest what it is that our communities need and what we need as individuals. So as she said, each one of these precepts, they are linked together because they put you in the mind frame that in order to accomplish one, you have to have the one that comes behind it. So your creativity, will give birth or comes after your purpose. So when you know what you want, then you have to think about how to make that tangible. So this is where we've been lacking as a people. We don't create. We allow others to create and then we follow them. When in actuality, we are the creators. As she said, we lead with everything. The world follows whatever we produce, whether it's good or whether it's foolish. So we have to get back into creating that which is, again, beneficial for us as a people.
Which leads me,
No, go ahead, sir.
which leads me to kind of throwing a curveball. Do we believe or think that our creativity is in danger due to all the new technology, AI?
It
Yes.
absolutely is. But I was going to say too, without going too far left in the conversation, with creativity, especially in the context of community, is that we also have to keep in mind that it is up to us to continue to build and protect our community because the Black community is for sale. And I don't think that we have truly realized that. We think that it's just for sale in the context of, other nationalities coming and opening businesses. No, the Black community is for sale. Like it literally ceased to exist. Maybe you'll understand the term gentrification. See, the country has a huge, huge housing shortage. And affordability of housing and building houses is so ridiculous that, if a person that normally would never live in the hood, hey, we got to live somewhere. So, if that house is 300,000 and that's what they are moving into the hood left and right, and the hood cease to exist. Because see, the more they move in, all of a sudden police officers start to patrol the area a little better. It starts to get a little cleaner. They start to become strict. They know what they're doing, but we have to be mindful that the Black community is for sale. And what happens is because we don't collectively take care of each other the way we should. When grandma passes, her house is in such a disarray, right? The roof needs to be done, the electrical, everything needs to be done. The children usually do not have the finances or understanding of the power of that property to keep it or try to fix it. So the first investor that comes knocking on the door, they sell to for pennies on the dollar. Sometimes we're even watching our loved ones lose their home. We are losing our community. So we have to understand a deeper understanding to creativity because if we're not leaving it better than what we inherited it, we're going to continue to lose it, especially in the need of housing.
Yeah. Your statement was very powerful, especially when it comes to gentrification, and I have witnessed this within the community that I grew up in. And I don't want to take this question that I put on the table off the table though. I want to keep that going because when I said something about technology and AI, my brother and my sister kind of jumped on the other end.
Well, I want to jump in. I want to dovetail off of my sister in gentrification, but also highlight a potential solution to what we are experiencing with the onset of artificial intelligence. I'll name an example. My family and I, here in New Orleans, our solution to gentrification is we at one point in time in our Black neighborhood had a lot of mom and pop corner stores. So one of the things that we're doing as an answer to that is we've, of our fundraising, collective effort, collective work and responsibility, have purchased a corner store, and we are reimagining this corner store into a cultural center where we can foster creativity. So, to your point about how artificial intelligence is taking over the internet, we want to just remind people that we are real live physical beings that can work together in spaces in our community to be creative. AI cannot host a drum circle in a community. AI cannot have a live band playing in a community center. So I just want to remind us there is a dependency on artificial intelligence, but we are real life people living in neighborhoods, homes, communities, etc., that have to do something to output in these spaces. So as we can use AI to generate a lot of stuff, we need to really kind of think outside of that and go back on the ground, boots on the ground, and buy up your corner stores, buy up the houses, and create spaces for us to have those community gatherings.
And brother, you
Yeah,
can think I'm gonna let you share. Before
yeah, the AI is making everybody intellectually unproductive
Mhm.
because now all you have to do is log into something and you're allowing the computers or the machines to do all the work. So you're not thinking no more. You're becoming automated. You just are functioning off of what somebody who created the software to that is. So now you're shifting your ability to think into somebody's hands. So we back to similar what they did with the education. They teaching us what to think instead of how to think. And that's what these AIs are doing. So if they continue to grow at the rapid rate that they are, then yes, the creativity of humanity is going to be gone. As she said earlier, it's just going to be in the hands of the few people that's creating the software to these AIs. And then you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this AI? What are they trying to accomplish? What is their purpose? What is their goal? And if we don't understand what the end game is for that right there, then we become, mental zombies because we're gonna wait on them to do everything for us. We're gonna revert back to that baby stage and wait on and be dependent on these AIs for every essential component of our lives instead of getting up using our own minds to be able to do it ourselves. So it's kind of back to the reverting back to the slavery mindset where the slave owners, created our world. We was just basically in it and functioning off of whatever they told us to do and how to do it. This is now the new millennium AI in the same position. So if we don't want to repeat that particular cycle, then we have to begin to think. As she said, we have to collectively come together and do what's necessary to begin to accomplish whatever it is we want to do instead of allowing somebody else to come in. As she said, the gentrification has eradicated and just extirpated the black communities. As you said, I'm seeing people in communities that I grew up in that 20, 30 years ago could have never walked the streets in there. Now they are the mass majority.
right.
Mhm.
So we have to begin to realize that, hey, we have to make some changes. We have to begin to start collectively pooling our mental resources to change the course of our lives because it's heading in a direction that none of us is going to like in the near future.
Absolutely. I was gonna say too, I visited California for the first time. And because of childhood movies, I wanted to visit that community called Crenshaw. And I think most of us have heard of Crenshaw and the notion that comes with just that community. Well, Crenshaw looked like a suburb. And I told myself, surely this could not be the Crenshaw they spoke of 20 years ago. So that definitely hit home to understanding the power of gentrification. But also going back even from the AI aspect, I saw a clip recently of Elon Musk, who we know is a big advocate for AI and robots and robotics. And this gentleman shared that in the future, he sees the government's need to provide basically everyone with supplement, a monthly supplement. So basically, Social Security or welfare they're seeing a mass need for the welfare system because there will be shortages of jobs as technology will continue to take jobs. And so that is a very sad thing that we are going to have a job shortage, not because we are incapable of filling it, but because there just won't be a need to have man fulfill it. And we are so right. My suggestion, because even with knowing technology, you can't even send out an email without AI being connected, wanting to correct the email for you. So I told myself, as someone that loves to write, it's time to just get journals again, get notebooks, get pens and papers, and just write a diary out daily. Just simply write whatever, so that way you can continue to allow your mind to have free thought. It's just for you. Who cares about the grammar? But we have to continue to write because that's a skill, and we will lose it with where technology is going.
Um, I,
I know that was a lot.
no, that was fine because I think about what you said, which is a great solution if we all can adhere to it. Because
Mhm.
see, this little gadget here, it stays with people.
Yeah.
It stays with people, and it's so convenient at times. But I will share this here because a lot of people use AI because of it being convenient. We have to understand that this technology is surveying us. The only way it can take, only way it takes over is it finds out how you operate, how you move, what you take, what you like, what you dislike, etc. It images us. So the more information we give it, the more it finds out about us. So what we want to do is slow the process of putting so much information into it.
Mhm.
There are technology, there are programs out there that are set up securely. So if you put information in there, you can take your information out of there. Because what the AI does, like this public AI, like people go to Chat GTP and all these different, AI systems, and they put information into it. Yes, it spits information out that somebody else gave it before, but it put it in a more um, well written way so that now, because it didn't learn grammar, a well written way that now the person on the other end can receive what you're saying, which is all great. And that's a great way maybe to use it. But just understand that we pour into this system what it gives us back. And then if it slowly begin to imitate, the image of and the likenessness of you, that's how they're going to begin to take over because they're going to start putting those systems in different places. And like you said, they won't need the human form of an individual anymore because they have all the information and technology. All the information that is, I'm sorry. And use it in a technological way.
Mhm.
But I think we talked on that enough. That was Kumba,
Kumba.
creativity. And we all want to make sure that we keep our God-given creativity. Don't let nobody take that away from you. So moving on.
Which is perfect now that we've made our audience nervous. No, I'm joking. Just think about Imani, which is night 7,
Mm.
and you'll light the last green candle. So now the entire Kinara is beautifully lit. And Imani means faith,
Mm.
which we definitely need today's time.
Right.
Lots of faith, and also to move in faith, but to believe with all our heart in our parents, our teachers, our leaders, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
Okay. All right. Sister Tamar, you want to add something to that?
Oh, yes. This one is so powerful and right on the heel of a very tumultuous thought, right? Thinking the thought of AI taking over our creativity really leans into the idea that we do need to be thinking about Kuji Chagalia, but also Imani and Iman, and knowing that it's an absolute knowledge and trust that we will be victorious, right? The work that our parents and our grandparents and their parents invested in liberation and freedom, we will have victory in that. We have to know that with all of our hearts, with all of our minds, and with all of our bodies. And I think it's really important for us to lift this out in this time of year, because a lot of people are leaning into practices that aren't rooted in a lot of foundational information, right? It's probably rooted in consumerism or whatever the practices may be. But our reality is, if we know and believe that we will be victorious, all of the energy that we put in the year to come will be invested in us winning. See, this is a mindset thing. If you know coming out the gate that you're a winner, guess what you're going to do? You're
Mean
going to win, right? You have the knowledge, you have confidence, you move with integrity, you move without fear, that your paradigm will be shifted. So all of your actions and activities will be aligned with these principles, with these practices that we discussed today. You will work without any fear that AI is going to take over your creativity, and you're going to get your journal book out and you're going to write your poem, your song, or whatever it is that you need to do. But Iman is the whole embodiment of these practices that we know if we put this into deployment that we're going to win. And it actually is a real concept, is as a man thinketh, so is he. So this part is really important for us to get down pat. We have to know that we're going to be victorious in the struggle.
Correct.
indeed. Indeed. Brother Ikazika?
I think the most essential component of humanity is having faith. And, faith is complete, unquestioning acceptance of something, even in the absence of proof, especially that which is not supported by reason. So your faith is going to always supersede your knowledge and your wisdom, because that's what's the stress to continue on. As the sister said, your faith will allow you to have that confidence that no matter what obstacle or impediment that you embark upon, you have the ability to overcome it. You have the hall of faith in the great light that shows that there were seemingly insurmountable barriers in the path of people's movement. However, through having faith in themselves and faith in the word of the king, they were able to demolish that. They were able to move all those obstacles out of their path and still reach their destination. So when you wake up and you know that, okay, the day is the day we focusing on economics, you already got that faith that, hey, we're going to make this a reality. Yeah, it may seem impossible to the masses of people, but we know by us putting in that work day to day, collectively, that yes, we will accomplish that. It's like a stonemason beating the stone. Those first couple of strikes don't break the rock. It may be on strike 100, 200, or 300. So that's what gives you the perseverance to continue on, because you know that you're going to be able to scale this mountain, no matter how high it is, because you have that self-determination to reach the goal, and you're not going to quit until that task is accomplished. So you got to have that faith, because without that right there, the other six principles are irrelevant, because you're moving out of doubt and you're moving, which produces fear that you're not going to be able to accomplish anything that you set out to do. So when you have that all-consuming faith, then ain't nothing going to be able to stop you from whatever you can imagine. And that's what we as a people got to embrace now. We got to have faith that, yes, we can work together. We got to have faith that, yes, we can take back our communities. We can build a future for ourselves. And that's all wrapped up in having that creative thought process.
No, I like that. And for the most part, I like the way Dr. Karinga kind of laid it out from day 1 to day 7. Because Imani, faith is that last one that you want to. Well, we probably can move it up a little bit, right? If we want to reorder this, rearrange this here, we can probably look at things in different places, right?
Absolutely.
Because we
Correct,
definitely
no
talk
doubt.
about stuff, right? First, when we talk about Kuchi Chagalia, and then going into, the collective unity and the collective work and just having the faith behind it. So it's however you take these principles in and organize them within your life is how, your life is going to prosper and grow,
May I
And
suggest that
yes.
instead of looking at them linear, we look at them circular.
Ah,
So if we
I like
look at them circular, it's a rotation of this energy constantly circulating in our community. We have this very linear path that we're on, but if we think in cycles, we can begin to replicate the energy that's needed to continue this work. So I just want to offer that thought and energy for us to look at it in a circular fashion.
No, that was great, sis. That's how we should look at it.
That's wonderful.
Perfect. Well, we on night 7. We went all the way through.
Successfully.
Right. Which is good. I mean,
All 7
the
principles.
only thing we didn't talk about, as far as did we mention the name of the
The
what the candle, the
Kanara.
Kanara? Did we mention it?
Yes, I mentioned it
Okay.
or referenced the
Okay.
Kanara.
So that's Kwanzaa for the most part. Of course, there are other things that other practices that goes along with Kwanzaa. The one thing that we want to really highlight and push to the audience and to those that are listening in is the value behind Kwanzaa and how Kwanzaa can correct some of the things that we are, struggling, or I'll say suffering from. From right now today. And if we look within our community, which what they gave us, because we truly don't have a community like that. It's like they put us in an area that we all kind of like what they call it, crabs in the bucket.
Absolutely.
Box, yeah.
In a box,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
that's trying to get by, survive amongst one another.
Yeah. And that didn't work because we know that eventually others have gravitated to the community. A lot of our leaders have left the community. And so even the higher powers that be understand that there really is no purpose in a, ghetto per se, because everyone will get to experience what it's like to be a slave when competing against technology and AI.
Mhm. Well, they know where they confined us to.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they know if they confined a bunch of people that they didn't give the knowledge to, of who they stripped the knowledge. Let me say that they
Absolutely.
stripped the knowledge of who they are. Then how would they function within a community amongst themselves? They're gonna fight amongst one another. They're gonna try to take from amongst one another. So that's what their intent was, and they were successful in doing what they
Absolutely.
did. But once we become conscious of the knowledge of how to rid ourselves of that, or how to move beyond that, we call it moving from poverty to riches, then we can then become more creative in our thought process of coming up with plans and strategies to make our community better than what it was before.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna go around and we're gonna go over some last thoughts because we're coming on to the close of this program. So I start. Let me see. I start with you, Sister Tamar, and then I go to Abigail and Ezekiel.
Yeah, I just want to echo all of what's been said today and just really highlight that Kwanzaa is not a practice that we just observe in this week. It is something that we need to make a embodied practice of 365 days of the year. So these principles are really designed to help us build in our communities and build better ways that we can cohabitate, but also co-manage our own communities. So I'll leave it at that and just encourage you to stay tuned to Live Talk because they got some really powerful conversations happening here. So thank you for allowing me to be present and share today.
Appreciate that. Abigail?
Well, trying to be brief, I know what we didn't share, even though we covered the principles, is that there's a lot of family activities that can be done when looking to observe it from the 26th to the 1st. Usually, I just say when trying to plan out how you want to acknowledge the 7 days or 7 principles of Kwanzaa, to find an activity that coincides with the meaning behind that word each day. And even if it's just spending an hour each day with your family and loved ones, just dedicate that time so that you can really inculcate those principles and take it with you throughout the year.
Right. And Brother Ezekiel?
Yes, as they said so eloquently, Kwanzaa principles, these particular precepts, is what's essential to our growth, development, and prosperity as individuals as well as communities. So each one of these precepts needs to be looked at in an in-depth manner to where you can start creating a system from these 7 precepts that'll turn on its axis that would allow each generation to be able to apply it and reap the benefits from it. Because everything in society is predicated upon systems. You have the educational system, you have the financial systems. So you have to create a system in your home that will produce these precepts in each individual. And then it won't be no problem for them working collectively because these precepts will now become their nature. And then they will begin to automatically apply them in their daily actions. So Kwanzaa, as the sister said, is not a substitute or the Black Christmas because these are universal rules that if implemented and inculcated, then anybody can flourish. So you have to create a system because your system produces your habits. And when these become habitual behaviors, then you're going to create what everybody is seeking for, heaven on earth. So let us embrace these Kwanzaa principles daily, not just once a year.
Indeed. And it equates to, because we have 7 we all know is perfection. So we look at it from a standpoint of these are some perfect principles that we can take in and better our lives. All right. So with that being said, one last thing I just want to leave everyone with when we talk about AI again. I understand when it comes to AI too, and I see this coming. If you was to put something in like the chat GTP and it spits something back out to you, it has quotations on the end. Y'all know what that means, right? That's plagiarized. That means it coming from another place and another source. When we begin to use that, plagiarism is a crime. And you know they're going to start changing certain laws, y'all. So just be mindful of some of these things that we're seeing when it comes to technology. But I leave us with that. And I say from the host, peace and prosperity. And from Live Talk, we are out.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa. Peace, everybody.
Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.